Hello everyone, and welcome to React Native EU 2019. So I'm really excited to have you all here today. And let me tell you why I've been excited for the past few months. So React Native is doing great. And this is the reason why I'm so excited to have you all here for the next 2 days to talk about it. We are having more contributions than we've ever had. We are merging more PRs every day. We are shipping more features. Our conference has almost twice as many attendees as last year. So we are growing as well. Yeah, life's good. So, if there is anybody here in the audience that doesn't share this enthusiasm with me, don't worry, we got 2 days filled with talks to get you excited about that. So let me open it up and tell you some details and explain you why I've been so crazy about React Native recently. 9 months ago, we asked the community, what do you dislike about React Native? Which gave us a good overview of the problems you are facing. And to do so, we have used the React Native community, a GitHub organization we have set up on our way to increase the transparency and move the discussions about React Native and its future into public space, rather than happening on Twitter and closed circles on Discord. And there has been a lot of comments and meaningful feedback about React Native that we have grouped into several categories. The first one is the developer experience. Everything related to working and building React Native apps. The other category is community support. So transparent and predictable development path and better support from the core team at Facebook. And the last one is performance. So making sure that not only we can ship cross-platform apps, but also that we can make them fast. So let's go one by one, starting from the top one. The developer experience. So based on your feedback and what the community is struggling with, there's 3 areas that are getting popular and that are getting particular attention from you. That is upgrading React Native apps and making sure that it's easy to do, or at least that you know what kind of steps you should perform yourself. Another one is debugging. So being able to test your app while it's running, be able to develop faster. These are the promises of React Native that should work out of the box. And the last one is the documentation, which is extremely valuable to bring in new developers to React Native, but we are also using it every day to look up the API, to look up the props, or read some guides. So this is for sure something that we should pay extreme attention to. So let's start with upgrading. Upgrading is partially hard because while making React Native apps, we are dealing with multiple build systems. Not only we have to build JavaScript, which already has hundreds of ways when you are doing web development, but also you have to deal with iOS development and Android development, which are totally different worlds and different infrastructures. So we've been working on minimizing the surface that you are working with so that we can perform more changes ourselves behind the scenes, including breaking changes. And we have worked on this one really hard. First, the contributors that are members of React Native community have worked really hard on a tool called Upgrade Helper for immediate improvements while we work on the other areas as well. And so the Upgrade Helper tool aims to provide you, So the Upgrade Helper tool aims to give you a full set of changes that happen between any 2 versions. So this will help you to see what you exactly need to change yourself. And aside from that, this tool has a couple of extra handy features, such as inline comments, to help you with more insights as to what particular files are doing, so that if you haven't looked into your Gradle files, you can now figure out, by the way, this is what this file is doing, which is really handy. And there's much more than that, so I strongly recommend you look at it, check out the repo, star it, and check all the features they have prepared for you. So that's the first thing, better upgrade journey with new tools. And another one that I'm also excited about is the auto-linking. So no more React Native link, which makes your native dependencies work automatically. All you have to do is to run the installation with your Node package manager, and then the dependencies are ready for you to use. And this feature heavily relies on Coca-Pods on iOS and Gradle, obviously, on Android. And that means it is now preferred and default way of handling third-party native dependencies. And we're not done yet. We'll continue on making the upgrade process even better. There is a bunch of handful ideas that are floating around React Native community. So if you have any ideas or comments regarding these, just make sure to go to React Native community discussion and proposals repo, where you can check issues and give your input as to what we should be doing. Another area of focus is debugging, and that's the section I'm excited the most because it includes features that we are yet about to ship. So first thing is, thanks to Hermes, we can finally experiment with on-device debugging. So what that means is that when you start debugging your code, the code will remain running on your device instead of running in a Chrome browser. So that gives you this ability to reproduce bugs with more confidence since you are using the same engine as your users are using. And I'll mention Hermes later in the section, and we'll hear about it quite a lot within the next 2 days. So another great feature that maybe many of you haven't heard about yet, that it's about to ship, is integration with Flipper. And Flipper is what we've been all waiting for. This is what everybody was mentioning as a disadvantage of using React Native, that there was no debugging platform or a way to debug React Native app, and you had to use a bunch of other tools to do it. One for iOS, one for Android, one for JavaScript. Flipper is a brand new platform for debugging mobile apps. It lets you inspect the layout of your React Native apps, look up contents of async storage as you work with it, or even use React DevTools that are integrated right away. No extra work is needed. And what's great is that it's not tied to any particular platform. So as I said, you can already use it on Android and iOS as well. So if you are developing brownfield or native apps from time to time as well, you can use the same tool and don't learn new tool all over. So that's shipping with next React Native version. Watch out for updates. And the last feature that I wanted to cover, which is as exciting as Flipper support, is fast refresh. So fast refresh is the new hot module reloading that works, is fast and predictable. And just to give you an idea how much the team is confident that it's stable, it is turned on by default. Yes. So when I was testing it, I was like, how do I turn this thing on? And then I realized, wow, it's already working. And that's those tiny little things that you'd expect from React Native. And it's already available in the current RC channel. It's ready for you to try today. So just make sure you install the latest, which is 61 RC2 right now, and let us know. And on top of that, we've been also working really hard on making our documentation and marketing much better. In fact, there is now a dedicated person at Facebook to constantly challenge our docs, and her name is Rachel, and she's here with us today. So if you have any ideas how to make our documentation better, just look for Rachel, and please have a chat. And this area is still in development, so I'm going to give you an idea what we have been working on, what the team is up to. So as I said, dedicated team. And as a result of what we've been working on in the past months, the team has shipped an entirely new React Native screen, as well as redesigned the homepage of the React Native website to give it more, to emphasize more on the React Native features and make it more exciting for developers that are looking to understand why is it really React Native that I should try. But we are now particularly looking into API docs, making sure that the documentation reflects the current state of props, as well as providing you with more guides to help you build better React Native apps. Not necessarily guides that only relate to the components and APIs that are part of React Native, but also something broader in the future is something we are considering as well. So that's it about developer experience. Let's move on to another section, which is community support. And for improving the community support and stability of the framework, we have worked together with Facebook on investing more time into open source and prioritizing community contributions and the community. So as a part of that, we have put a lot of effort into Linkor and tried to move faster with the PRs. So starting with the Linkor, this is a code name for a process that we have started a while back ago to reduce the surface of React Native, to make it smaller and allow the community to take better care of modules that were not necessarily needed for core functionalities and that were not necessarily used internally at Facebook. So there was no reason to tie these modules into the Facebook infrastructure. And by extracting that code into React Native community org, we were able to get much more people involved into the project. These modules are now maintained by healthier and more diverse communities, showing that this is a great step for the community. What we have noticed is that by giving developers and community ownership and responsibility, their development of these libraries accelerates to the level that we haven't seen before. A great example is WebView, that in a first month of being a separate project, merged over 100 of PRs, adding features and functionalities people have wanted for long. And this is significantly more than we were ever able before in the history of the WebView and other modules as well. In total, we have merged over 800 PRs combined to the extracted projects, including WebView, async storage, NetInfo, website, and of course the CLI. And we are really excited to see other pieces of React Native following the same in the future and improving their quality significantly. So historically speaking, we have sort of deprioritized community contributions, and as a result of that, we have accumulated almost 300 pull requests in last December, and that's quite a lot. And we've been working on reducing that number to around 50. And simultaneously, the average number of pull requests that people were sending increased from 3.5 per day to 7. So in other words, we have merged almost 600 PRs in past 6 months. I think that's really impressive. That's almost 75 of all PRs ever submitted in that amount of time. And if I took a look historically at the ratio between merged and sent PRs, and we are actually increasing that. So I'm hoping to make that number even higher. And the result is noticeable immediately, with React Native being the second most contributed project on GitHub, with over 10,000 contributors of any kind and 2,000 contributors that contributed code. Thanks to that, we are moving faster and is a healthy thing. So I think the takeaway from this section is that if you have ever sent a PR in the past and you burn out because we haven't merged it in 2 years, give it a try again. So aside from making all these great contributions that we have packed into more than 42 releases, including major and minor versions, I want to call out Microsoft and all the great tools they've been making for React Native recently. So obviously, from Code Push App Center and React Native Windows, they've been always extremely focused on building enterprise-ready tooling around React Native. But now they are finally connecting the dots and starting to use React Native not only in Skype and products similar, but also in their flagship products, including Office Suite, which makes me really excited. This is an indicator that React Native is enterprise-ready. And this is the impression that I'm also getting from our clients at ColdStack as well. And that's really amazing because where React Native shines is the brownfield integrations with existing native apps, which is essentially what enterprise is all about. And I'm really looking forward to Ryan's talk on Friday morning, where we're going to have some details about brownfield integrations, as well as the Microsoft talk, where they're going to share how do they really use React Native and what's there yet to come. So pretty excited about that. So last thing I'd like to mention here is the performance, something that I hear almost all the time. I go start pitching React Native, especially to native developers. Everybody's like, oh, you got this async bridge. Thank you. Truth is, React Native has already acceptable performance out of the box. And I'm saying this because when I was doing native apps myself, I did a lot of hacky code, which ended up blocking main thread on iOS. And so it's not that easy to build a fast app on iOS, but with React Native, you get certain level of performance out of the box. But that's not enough for us. And we'll hear a lot about this within the next 2 days, but there's just 2 areas that I wanted to highlight in this section. One of them being Hermes, and the other one being Metro. So starting from Hermes, that's been released at Chain React, another React Native conference that you should save in your calendar if you are especially coming from States. And it is a JavaScript engine that features ahead-of-time static optimizations and compact bytecode size. And unlike traditional JavaScript engines, Hermes is optimized specifically for running React Native on mobile devices, and it's not meant to be used on the web. So when I asked Facebook team, why did you really start investigating things like Hermes, what they told me is that traditional JavaScript engines are usually optimized for 10, maybe 20 most impactful websites on the internet, and this is not how React Native works. And so this is actually true. And the reason they, and you can actually see the benefits of that approach almost immediately, because as soon as they released it, and that's like very first version, we get the improvements right away. For example, the time to interaction is improved by 2 seconds, just like that, and the application size gets by 19 megabytes smaller. And this is not the end. This is just the beginning of improvements that we are yet to see. And I think this is an example, this is an amazing example showing that Facebook treats React Native seriously. There's been a lot of people asking whether Facebook was really committed to React Native. Things like Hermes don't happen every day. I don't remember seeing a JavaScript engine being created since I'm into development, which is maybe like 10 years. And all in all, I think this is great because what we are getting is high-speed optimized engine for our use cases. And now we can finally move, especially Android side, to the next level of performance. So parsing and executing JavaScript bundle is one thing, but generating the code in a performant way is another thing. And that's what the team on Metro's side have been working on for the past few months. So amongst many features they've shipped, because since the extraction of packager to a separate project, kind of the first linker project, they started shipping a lot of features. And I wanted to highlight a feature called inline requires that lets Metro identify components that can be lazy loaded. And as a result, modules are required with a delay as soon as they are needed for us to use. This is different to requiring everything at the same time and can be specifically useful if your app is big and contains a lot of modules. Together with Hermes, this is a nice combination to improve your performance and lazy load parts of your bundle. And if you haven't used it yet and are working on a bigger app, you can give it a try and let us know how it works for you. So that was a brief look at all the improvements we have shipped in the recent months. And we'll continue to align with the community every once in a while to make sure that the direction we have picked is still aligned with the expectations of the community. In fact, we just started another edition of the survey in order to check the status of React Native once again and see if any of these improvements had real impact on you. Looking forward to learning more about that. Please check discussions and proposals and let us know what you think. And also, I'd like to thank Christoph, who's not here with us today. He's also working at Facebook, who's been doing all these great initiatives, trying to gather feedback and then do a lot of moderation work. Christoph, thank you for that. This is really great work. In fact, I kind of wanted he would do the keynote, but he had very important things, so maybe next year, Christoph. All right. So I think there is a bright future ahead in front of React Native. With the vibrant community that you're part of, Facebook commitment, and support from other partners, I think we are on the right track. And at this pace, reducing the number of issues to a bare minimum and improving the quality of the framework, I think is just a matter of time. Don't quote me on that, but I think that most of the issues that we know today will soon be a thing of a past. In fact, some of them are already under heavy development, and this is what this conference is all about, getting you up to date and getting the community around you and around React Native. And speaking of the community, I owe open source and the React Native community a lot. Working with people across the world gave me the opportunity to overcome environmental barriers that I was facing, living in a very small city somewhere in the countryside of Poland. And thanks to open source and all the great people that I've met, I was not only able to become a better developer, but I was also able to set up CallStack and continue spreading the enthusiasm with people around me. And now I feel privileged to be standing in front of you. And all I want to say is that my goal is to give you all the same opportunity, starting today. So without making it any longer, thank you for making it to the React Native EU 2019, and I wish you have a great conference. So let's make it officially start. So before we continue to our first speaker, I wanted to thank our sponsors that help us make this conference happen. They are with us every year, and if it wasn't for them, we would probably have a harder time getting things set up. So please give them a huge round of applause.